Serious people who did a long time, 5 years plus, in prison. What was your biggest shock of the outside world? Attention. Serious tag notice jokes, puns, and off-topic comments are not permitted. Link. Reddit. com/r/askreddit/wiki/index/wiki_rule. 6. In any comment, parent or child. Parent comments that aren't from the target group will be removed, along with their child replies. Report comments that violate these rules. Posts that have few relevant answers within the first hour, and posts that are not appropriate for the serious tag will be removed. Consider doing an AMA request instead. Thanks for your cooperation and enjoy the discussion. I'm a bot, and this action was performed automatically. Please contact the moderators of this subreddit /message/compose/to=r/askreddit if you have any questions or concerns. Just money in general. You have no idea how to handle money. That takes a little time to get used to. Yeah, you can't buy stuff with honey buns anymore. Although that would be nice. It'd be nice to buy everything with ramen. My bro only did a year, but he was let out with a guy who did 30+ years. He tells the story of him having to explain a smartphone to the other guy. Imagine anything you want, whatever you want, and whatever you want to know. It's on your phone now. Apostrophe. I haven't been to prison, but this still baffles me. Anything from chemical formulas, history, art, it's all just there. Imagine the next steps when we get really good and cheap at virtual reality and 3D printing. I'm still waiting for the brain chip. I want prefrontal Wi-Fi. My old boss spent 7 years behind bars. He said the morning he got out, his grandmother picked him up and they went to Target. He said his eyes were hurting because he hadn't seen the color red in years. Wow, there's something I wouldn't have thought of. I was in for robbery too. Mandatory minimum of 5 years, 10 months. One of the hardest things for me once I got out was making choices. Let me explain. In prison, you might have 2 choices for shampoo if you're lucky. The first time I went shopping for hygiene essentials was at Target. I remember being so overwhelmed by the amount of choices for shampoo and having no idea which one to get. I stood in that aisle and cried for a few minutes before I just left without getting anything. My older bro was in for 4 and he had the same struggle as you. Any choice he had to make for himself had him overwhelmed, and understandably so. When asked what boxes he wanted, he just stood there in the aisle staring at them until one of us perked up to help him, and it amazed me in all honesty. Honestly, I still have a hard time with the overwhelming amount of choices for things like that. I have to have a decider with me when I go to get clothing. People, including myself, already have a struggle making a decision without having been in. So I can't even imagine how that must make even the smallest things a struggle for you. I hope you're doing alright, my man. Not sure how long you've been out for, but any progress is the best kind of progress. My cousin did 19 years following involvement in a bank robbery. For one thing, I will tell you, there isn't a happier guy on God's earth. He takes his freedom as an absolute joy, and anything that happens, he takes it in stride. The big thing I noticed with him is cell phones and how much we use them was absolutely alien to him. He knew they existed, and lots of people had smartphones, but people sitting around looking at them all the time struck him as amazing. I mentioned this to him once, and he said to me, when I was a kid, we had to have commercials on TV to remind kids to learn to read. Now I see everyone can read and write too, even if they are kids, and they talk to people around the world when they do. It's amazing. What a gift. Always stands out to me how he said what a gift. These things have of course been corrupted for us now, being used to steal data about everything we do and inundate us with paid for propaganda and scams. But my cousin at the time saw a potential in these devices and how they had improved the lives of the younger people in the family, because he went away when he was 20, came out around 40, and saw a totally different world from the desperate place he was when he tried to drive jet away for those guys. This story does remind me of when smartphones were first becoming more ubiquitous in 2007/2008. There was this hype around apps. Like the Zippo lighter app was amazing. And there was even one that made lightsaber washing noises. How cool is that? Now, there's no excitement over the novelty of having a phone that can do almost anything for you because everyone is just used to them. Damn. I remember being amazed by both of those at the time. My English great uncle came to visit one year when apps like that were first coming out, and he had an app that did a really good job of mimicking the sound of shaving with an electric razor, and he whipped it out and started doing it in a crowded restaurant. I've never seen my grandma laugh that hard in her life. Speaking about my uncle, he was fascinated with online shopping. He had been in prison for about 30 years and he didn't believe that you can just order stuff from the internet and it would be delivered. So we ordered dinner from Seamless, my treat, and he practically power walked to the door when the bell rang. He swung the door open and enthusiastically greeted the delivery boy. Poor delivery boy. My uncle is this huge tattooed dude with a giant burn scar across his face, lol. What did he do to get 30 years? If you don't mind me asking, murder. Second-degree murder to be exact. It was way before I was born, so I'm fuzzy on the details, but from what my family says, he ran with a horrible crowd back then. He and a few of his buddies went to collect on a debt with intentions of scaring the family a bit, but it ended up with them accidentally pushing the wife off the balcony. She died on impact. They ran, got caught, and was sent to prison. Surely that's third. Like they didn't intend to kill her. I interned at a private criminal defense firm. The most notable shock of any of our released clients had to be one man who in prison for 16 years, odd amount because he was paroled as part of plea deal. He had a daughter who was just a child at the time he was incarcerated. And when he got out, she had just had a baby, his first grandchild. She didn't tell him about the pregnancy beforehand. She wanted it to be a surprise upon his release. I wasn't there when our old client met his newest family member or his now adult daughter, but when he came in a few months later, he still couldn't talk about the new baby without crying happy tears. He had a picture in his wallet of his daughter when she was little he brought with him to prison, and showed us the new picture of his grandchild he keeps with it now. Second chance to be a pop. Speaking for someone else, I had a tar in college who was an ex-felon due to a dumb situation he got involved in when he was a teenager. He was tried as an adult and did 10 years. When he got out, he said the strongest immediate impression he got was from trees. He said they were so huge and looming, and he always felt like they were leaning toward him, like they were about to fall over. What is the reason a teen could get tried as an adult? Severity of the crime. Just got out. Weirdest thing was seeing all these damn scooters laying everywhere. That's weird to all of us. 5 years for aggravated assault and robbery. I was 3 months past my 18th birthday when I was sentenced. I lived in a small railroad town in south central PA. I guess one of the biggest shocks for me was how much the town had changed. The scrubland, where we rode our bikes and dirt bikes, is now a strip mall. My friend's driveway is now the main road through that part of town. Someone fixed up the old dive bar and turned it into a fairly popular restaurant and bar. Hell, whole developments popped up all over the place. And while I wouldn't exactly call the changes gentrification, the town certainly has improved as far as standards of living, without ridiculously increasing the cost of living. Shock number 2 was internet access. AOL, NetZero, Earthlink, etc. were the go-tos then, but phased out within a couple years of my release as faster access from cable companies became more widely available and affordable. Great question. I don't often get to chime in on this sub. Shock number 2 was internet access. I have a friend who works as a corrections officer. He works a county jail, so he sees people who are awaiting trial, serving short sentences, or awaiting transfer to long-term stays in prison, so he tends to see people at the start of their service to the state. One of the bigger shocks he sees affecting these new inmates is how they've suddenly been cut off from the internet. No social media, no YouTube, nothing, and this outage will go on for years. Yes, there are black market ways to get access, but the initial shock can be pretty severe. Most of us don't realize how addicted we really are to our access. I feel like my technology life has impacted my ability to read a book. It's like I have ADHD now regarding just sitting there and trying to read. Not enough stimulation or something, so I inevitably put it down and go back to my phone, tablet or laptop. I hate it. I grew up without a TV and have always been a huge reader, and although I'm surrounded by books, I haven't finished one in a few years. I bet you that some of them are pissed when they got out on drug possession for pot to find out that it's legal in some states. I've thought about this scenario before, especially how strict it must have been back then vs now. Wait, when they legalized it, did they not go back and let these people out of prison? That's a bit ducked up. My father told me one of my distant relatives, I don't really associate with that side of my family, got out in the late 2000s after being locked up for the better part of 30 years and was blown away by how people treated him. Apparently it was originally only a 10-year stay, but he was caught between a prison fight where someone died and they added 20 years. He was in for drug manufacturing/trafficking originally. He told me when he got out that people were accepting of his past and didn't hold it against him. He was so taken back by it, it made him paranoid to the point he just wanted to go back to prison. He was holed up in his wife's house all the time. Works from home. His wife owns some online business and suffers from night terrors. I've met him a few times over the years, and he's the nicest guy you could ever meet. Very, very timid around new people though. From what I understand now, he's doing much better in life. I see him and his wife on FB traveling, not currently, of course, around the US, and they do volunteering work to help prisoners who have been locked up adjust to the current world. Poor guy. It makes me feel good he's paying it forward. My father was incarcerated from 2003 to 2016, and the biggest shock for him was technology and how much McDonald's has raised prices. LMAO. Man, I'm kinda at the Duck McDonald's point. I have lived on that shut for most of my life and I will always have a soft spot for a 1 AM McDouble. But it's pricey enough at this point that much better tasting options are available for the same cost. A meal at McDonald's costs almost as much as a meal at Five Guys. Lunch at McDonald's costs like $11 to $14 here. Burger King is like $8. And the drive-through lines are always insane. I'll eat garbage. Don't worry about it. I won't pay $14 to eat garbage. And I certainly am not going to pay $14 and sit in my car for 30 minutes for garbage. When my granddad got out of prison, he was smoking on the bus and some lady had to tell him that you're not allowed to do it anymore. He replied with, "Damn, I've been away for a while." Happy he took it in stride though. A friend of mine was very surprised by the new Coke Freestyle machines. I'm still surprised by them, tbh surprised that the Wendy's in my area is always out of the ducking cherry syrup. Cherry Coke from a Freestyle machine is far inferior to actual cherry Coke, so it's your gain really. In my hometown, our mall had a small pizza place that didn't do delivery. The pizza was amazing. Best I've had to this day. But the best thing they had was their cherry and vanilla Cokes. They handmade them to order. I can't drink a cherry Coke without thinking of it. But Freestyle machine cherry Coke tastes like someone took a single actual cherry and poured the Coke over it. I have a brother who spent some time in jail. Should probably still be there, but he got a hold of me through Facebook after he got out and was amazed by smartphones. I blocked him after that, and he made a new Facebook account and I blocked him again. He asked one of my siblings why he can't find me, and she told him I probably blocked him, and he was shocked. You can block people as well. She then blocked him as well. May I ask what he did? He's about 9 years older than me, so growing up he was always in trouble keeping with the law even at a young age. He used to beat all us siblings and hit our mom. So anger issues was an issue with him. The first time he was arrested was because he had grabbed me by the throat and dragged me to my room and kept kicking me. He spent about 6 months that time. He then found a girlfriend and they got married shortly after. She got pregnant and he threw her down the stairs. Baby was okay, but she still stayed with him. About 6 weeks after their son had been born, his wife came home from her postpartum checkup and noticed that their son wasn't acting right and had noticed bruising. She took him to the ER immediately. They asked my brother what happened, and he said he was giving baby a bath and he rolled off the counter, but later confessed that baby wouldn't stop crying, and out of frustration, threw his son on the tile floor and stepped on him. Injuries were life-threatening, but he pulled through with severe disabilities and later butted away when he was 2. Jesus fucking Christ. I'm sorry to hear that. The part about him supposed to be in prison still and blocking him makes perfect sense now. Guy would be dead to me. I have a 1.5-year-old son and currently 8 months pregnant, and when he found out he had asked me when he will get to meet his nephew, and when I told him never and to never contact me again, the first thing that he had said to me was, "I will find where you live and just know that you messed up. I don't use social media anymore, and my husband bought me a handgun just in case he shows up." I was a co and had a few inmates tell me that smartphones and how compact things are today is the biggest shock. My prison looked like it was permanently stuck in the 90s. Half of our computers were from the 90s. Yes, I heard stories from an inmate locked up for 15 years who had only seen smartphones on TV. Anybody who thinks that's rehabilitation is out of their mind. It's retribution. Pure and simple. I think it's supposed to be designed to be so horrible that no one would want to break that law again. But humans just don't work like that. They are risk takers who look at the people who got served horrifying punishments before them and think that they just won't get caught, or just don't think about consequences like that. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you want more videos, don't forget to like and subscribe. You are helping me a lot. Thanks again.